So I heard y'all wanted more Dresden Files. With the Dresden Files short stories, the plot is only half the point. These seemingly low-stakes tales of Dresden's life when he isn't saving the world are actually really important to the buildup of the Dresdenverse, and they are absolutely canon. I remember when I started reading Peace Talks and River Shoulders came into the picture, and he was written as this character that we were supposed to already be really familiar with. And I had no idea who he was. I also kinda knew who the Svartalfs were, but I didn't have a really good understanding of them. And this is what made me want to start reading the Dresden Files short stories in the first place. There's a lot of extra stuff that if you just read the main series, you're not going to get. I think it's really, really funny that in one of the first short stories that actually takes place between like Full Moon and Grave Peril, you introduce two factions that aren't really going to come into play until like Peace Talks and Battleground. This whole laying the groundwork from the beginning of the story is one of the reasons why I love the series so much. B is for Bigfoot is the first short story in a trilogy of short stories, where Harry is working for strength of a river in his shoulders, or River Shoulders, as he's more commonly called. This story originally appeared in an anthology called Under My Hat, Tales from the Cauldron, and it later appears in Briefcases, more stories from the Dresden Files. But collectors can also find all three of Butcher's Bigfoot stories in a mini anthology called Working for Bigfoot that was a limited edition run. It's a tiny book. You can buy it for a couple $100 on eBay if you really want a copy, but I think only a couple 100 copies of this book were ever made, and so it's kind of a collector's item. I'll probably talk about how the three stories work together in a video for the last story, but for now we're just focusing on B is for Bigfoot because it soft launches both River Shoulders and the Svartalfs in the Dresdenverse. River Shoulders is a forest person, so he's basically Bigfoot. He's from the Three Stars forest people, implying that there's more folks like him and more groups of forest people in the universe, which is really cool. And even though I'm not super into Bigfoot, I've always thought of him as being kind of a loner. So it'll be cool to see how folks like River Shoulders fit into the endgame stuff of Dresden. River Shoulders hires Harry to help with his son, who's being bullied at school. River Shoulders is used to vanilla mortals as his people interact with the human Native American tribes on a regular basis. The humans liaison between the forest people and the rest of humanity, while the forest people provide educational, financial, and medical aid in return. River Shoulders pays Harry a gold nugget for his troubles, and Harry gracefully tells him that giving him another nugget upon completion is way too much and that he's good. Remembering how broke Dresden was at the beginning of the series, and honestly through most of the series, that takes a lot of character for him to turn down gold. River Shoulders had a brief relationship with Dr. Helena Pounder, an archaeologist who got stuck in the winter wilderness after a dig went too late in the season to escape. River Shoulders stayed in the shadows at first, leaving her food to help her survive. Their son, Erwin, is a scion, half human, half forest people. Scions aren't super common in the Dresdenverse, but they aren't rare either. I think that the most common example we've been used to seeing so far is the changelings of the fairy courts, but unlike changelings, Erwin is just half of each parent, and he can't choose to become completely one side or the other. River Shoulders has never met his son, and we don't yet know why he feels like he can't be part of his son's life. He's a character that didn't appear in his meeting with Dresden until Dresden's campfire was almost out, and canonically Bigfoot tends to be elusive and is not often seen by people who enjoy existing in the middle of nowhere for fun. But there's definitely some internal conflict going on with River Shoulders, and he still cares about Erwin enough to have Harry help him. Erwin Pounder is a kid who's very tall, scrawny, and a bit of a loner at Madison Academy. According to his mother, he heals very quickly, he's never been sick. These are probably gifts from his father's side, which is really cool. He's super smart, he loves broccoli, and even though he's closer to adult size than to kid size, he has a strong moral sense of what's right and what's wrong and tries to avoid hurting people if at all possible. Erwin knows that he's strong, and he also knows that if the bullies are going after him, then they're not going after other kids. And he seems to be okay with being the sacrificial punching bag, which is really sweet of him because I'm pretty sure that he could probably completely wreck his bullies if he really wanted to. Harry meets Erwin and figures out who/what the bully problem is when he goes undercover as a substitute janitor. The real janitor, Norm, goes on a last-minute and completely unexpected vacation to Hawaii. Presumably, this is River Shoulders' doing. Side note, but Butcher's used Hawaii as a premier destination for folks who know Harry a couple times now. That's where Bianca St. Clair tried to get Thomas Wraith to go in Grave Peril in order to leave Justine behind. It's also where Murphy and Kincaid vacation together. It might just be a throwaway location, but Butcher doesn't really do that. The last place I remember coming up in multiple books was Yucatan, and that's where changes went down. But hey, Hawaii is beautiful, so maybe it's just the place that he'd want to go on vacation, and so he was trying to live through his work. And another side note, Butcher seems to use the janitor as an NPC-like character that turns out to be someone else multiple times in the series. If I remember correctly, Harry pretends to be a janitor in Full Moon in order to sneak back into the Chicago Chicago jail to try and fail to prevent the Lugaroo from wreaking havoc after Murphy arrests Mac Finn in his human form. Uriel's also used the janitor disguise before. It just seems to be a really good character where most people don't notice them, and yet they're still vital to maintaining a place. So I can see sort of where this character or type of character is really convenient to shoehorn in somebody when you need them to. And going back to Uriel, this is another way where we're able to shoehorn big supernatural powers into the game and also sort of show that even the people who are supposed to have a lot of power can't directly interfere with things and have to use more subtle methods and be more the inspiration than the hammer. Anyways, Harry sees two bullies get Erwin into trouble just in time for him to get detention from Coach Pete, who seems to be enabling the bullies at Erwin's expense. And by seems, I mean he's totally doing that. Erwin stays respectful and just deals with it, but that makes Harry mad because Harry really doesn't like bullies. Harry recognizes the bullies for what they are, they're baby predators and they're scions to boot. He also uses his sight to figure out that Coach Pete is actually a Svartalv. The Svartalvs come into play later when Molly Carpenter lives there and has Harry live with her in the apartment that she got from them in peace talks, at least until the whole stuff with his brother went down. The story takes place between Full Moon and Grave Peril, so Harry is much less powerful than he is later on in the story, and Coach Pete is much older and more skilled and can definitely take Dresden. And Harry quickly learns that he's not going to be able to stop Coach Pete without getting smited for it. Coach Pete is the bullies' guardian and teacher, but not their parent. He's teaching them to hone their powers and using Erwin as a practice dummy, and he'll hurt Harry if he tries to interfere. But then Harry gets Erwin to stand up for himself and use the only language that the bullies understand, force, to get them to quit hurting him. It works, and because Harry doesn't lay a finger on them, and Erwin fighting back taught the bullies to be cautious and not to start fights that they couldn't finish, Harry was contributing to their education instead of getting in the way. It's more the kind of meddling we see him do in the Law short story that happens after Battleground, but not nearly as sophisticated as he is later on in the series. Harry gets a lot smarter and more on the up and up with doing things to the letter of the law, where the intent behind it was clearly not there. But he is kind of smart in this one. It's more of a technicality, but also the Svartalv thinks it's funny, so he lets it slide. We get our feel-good, happy ending, and now we get to the meat and potatoes of what it means for the series as a whole. We learn that the Svartalvs look kind of like gray aliens underneath their glamours, with big black eyes and little gray bodies. Much like the other factions in the supernatural world, they're old school, territorial, and don't tolerate nonsense. They are master craftsmen and make all sorts of super powerful armor and weapons for their clients, and they take things that are said very literally, almost to a fault, and you really, really, really don't want to make an enemy of them. Their work is mentioned in passing in Proven Guilty and Changes, and this shows that Harry has a good enough relationship with them after the events of B is for Bigfoot in order to have them want to do business with him. I think the next short story where they really come into play is Bombshells, and this is a short story where Molly Carpenter is trying to fight the phone war without Dresden. It takes place in between Changes and Ghost Story. If this is closer to Ghost Story, let me know down in the comments below. But this is a short story where basically everybody found out that Harry was alive. I'm in the middle of my Skin Game reread right now, and I think that when I get back to Peace Talks, it's going to make a lot more sense now that I've read these short stories. There's not anything specific in this short story that I think tells us something that's going to happen later in the series, so I wasn't sure if I was going to make a video about it. But I did think that it was cool that Jim Butcher had set all this stuff up way in advance and then pulled it out for the Peace Talks Battleground where things get super serious. And it's made me want to read more of the short stories, and I hope that it makes you want to read the short stories too. Are you excited for more Bigfoot short stories? Are you excited for the new book coming out in January? Leave me a comment down below. I'm working on my Father Fort Hill deep dive video right now. I just spent like 2 hours looking up stuff about his tattoo the other night, which was fun. I'm taking very, very detailed notes about Skin Game. I have a paperback copy that just has a bunch of tabs on it, and I've been taking notes referencing the page numbers, but the tabs are where the little paragraphs and words are that I need to directly reference, so it's a little bit easier for me to go back. Hopefully I'll get that one out in the next couple weeks, but hopefully the Father Fort Hill video will hold y'all over. Also, special shout out to Loki19 for supporting me on Patreon. Honestly, I forgot that I had that set up, and I was getting all the emails sent to my spam folder, and then I realized that he had been supporting me there, and I was both honored and a little embarrassed. Okay, a lot embarrassed, because I haven't been doing a lot with this channel lately. Life's gotten back to a point where I feel like I can have hobbies again, and I'm just doing this for fun, but it's still cool to see the support that people bring out for it, especially like in the comment section. Also, the support in the comment section of these videos has been incredible. I didn't realize just how much people liked this and appreciated it. I thought I was just info dumping on the internet and that it was kind of cringe for a while. But I've also gotten to a point with my work and mental health and stuff where I can have hobbies again. And I think it's really important to focus on doing things that I enjoy and that other people enjoy and building community through that. Life is hard and we all deserve to have something that makes us happy on the inside. So hopefully this made y'all happy. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks.